Hello again, this is Michael Dean with the Blue Cross Movement for Positive Equality. There have been a lot of replies about the movement being the means to create a totalitarian government or a dystopian future, but it is actually a means to prevent that. I believe that what we're experiencing is related to predictable behavior patterns and the cycles of revolution. And I want to talk about that and how the Blue Cross movement fits into all of this. For anyone who may be seeing this movement for the first time, this is an attempt to prevent civil war by performing a soft reset and take us from our current circumstances onto a high-speed path to a utopian space age that will sustain for countless generations. Of course, there have been a few that have responded that the movement could be easily corrupted or would become the nightmare authoritarian society that we see in movies and books. The truth is that any society could become corrupted. We are actually building a totalitarian government from our current circumstances. As automation begins to take over, many people are losing their jobs. Cashiers, meter readers, truck drivers, and many more have already lost their jobs or will within the next 10 years. Decreasing employment opportunities will continue to make more people dependent on community support. The only jobs that may easily perpetuate themselves are government and authority. The offices of government will begin to broaden themselves and pass more laws to further complicate and incriminate the citizenry. The only people free from these laws will be the wealthy, as they already go free from most crimes already. At the same time, the wealthy continue to win their tug of war on tax dollars against the needy. With all this, more people become poor, positions of authority grow, and the wealthy collect increasingly until the system is so stressed that it breaks. We are currently on course for this authoritarian dystopia and/or a breaking point. This is exactly the predictable behavior pattern for the cycles of revolution. For a long time, the ultra-wealthy have been in position to profit from every disaster and war, while we are made to kill each other to defend the rights that we will surely lose if we do fight. A violent revolt would either be met by swift defeat or an ugly civil war, leaving an increased reasoning for civil forfeitures and the government retaining more rights than the citizens, so they may protect us from each other. Though if we were weakened so far that even our own government couldn't conquer us, then surely another country's government will. This is all a part of a predictable pattern of behaviors used to enslave humanity for longer than recorded history, and we have come full circle and arrived at this turning point again. Former Prime Minister to the UK, Margaret Thatcher, is famously quoted for saying, "The problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money." I'm sure the first reaction to this is that the poor people took too much from the wealthy, but it is the exact opposite. The wealthy hoard resources, distributing only enough to the masses that will prevent mutiny. A more appropriate quote is from Albert Camus, that the welfare for the masses has always been an alibi for tyrants. There are countless documentaries about countries, banks, and corporations taking resources from less developed countries, but we fail to acknowledge that it happens everywhere, including the United States. The way the law is written is that we, the people, are the collective owners of the United States. We, the people, own this land, and the land is directly associated with its composition, known as mineral rights. Though just like every other country, the United States is sold out to corporations and other entities to allow the unmetered extraction of our resources and to use our tax dollars to do so. We need to ask ourselves where our behavior fits into these predictable patterns. We need to consider if a violent revolution would only give way for our rights to be taken or for another country to defeat us. We are poised against each other, but we are not our enemies. So we need to decide if we kill each other, if that's going to be beneficial to we the people or to the corporate government complex. Divide and conquer, a simple play on our emotions and self-worth that has enabled endless corruption, and multiple generations to be robbed of their national inheritance and their families' legacies. Welfare is actually the people being fed the crumbs of their own bread. Now we have come full circle in this evolutionary cycle where a small group of people claim for themselves what should be the property of all citizens. Most people will quote a clever saying just because it sounds good or it seems like it would be easily defendable. But we don't often apply the critical thought capable of digesting such ideas. The truth is that the people of the world have been made as cattle and robbed blind. America was supposed to be the place that broke that trend. Though now, with our corporate-issued diets and our prescription collections, the United States citizen has become the model for exploitation. We are on course for an authoritarian state or a violent revolution, and we are exactly in pattern with these predictable behaviors. We are being robbed, confused, and led to kill each other, where, as the collective owners of this country, we should be paid a universal basic income based on the metering of the collection of our natural resources. Also, since we entered this new age of technology, we should hold the rights to our user data as intellectual property and be compensated for that also. So I'm not saying that we don't need a revolution. What I am saying is, how do we execute such a thing without repeating history or holding back humanity? Well, right now we have an opportunity to break this cycle. And all we have to do is set our differences aside long enough to do so. Instead of having a violent revolution, we have an innovation revolution. And not only bypass the chaos and recovery, but actually excel beyond a point that we would have achieved through natural attrition, advancing humanity in an unprecedented and truly historic feat. The Blue Cross movement for positive equality is a spearhead effort to perform a soft reset on our society and seamlessly transition us from our tax-based economy to a resource-based economy while rapidly healing the environment and creating a raw material and economic boom to fix most of our problems and help us afford this transition. This would give true freedom to every citizen to decide how they would like to spend their existence without ever having to fear losing their home or basic needs. We will reverse the tax system by declaring our mineral rights, and we will boost the economy with one of the most versatile and easy to grow crops on the planet, which will reduce costs in every industry as well as the total cost of living. Industrial hemp grows 7.5 tons of fiber annually from 1 acre of land. It removes 1.6 tons of carbon for every ton grown, totaling 12 tons per acre annually. Hemp also takes this carbon from the air and puts it into the ground, repairing soil biomes, also while filtering the water. So we can begin rapidly healing our environment and flood the market with raw material to make everything from fuel to pillows, which will also help us eliminate plastics and make our country energy independent, all while driving down prices nationwide. Since this would be one of the first steps that we would take, we could all look forward to reduced costs sooner than later, freeing our finances and product availability to grow our businesses and lives. Once again, all while increasing the health of our planet. Additionally, establishing our user data rights will allow people to make an additional income from user participation, which will also help soften the transition from jobs lost to automation to people living with universal basic income. Please know that establishing this income equality and basic freedom for all of our citizens will give a sense of security and value that will undoubtedly decrease rates for depression, suicide, and homelessness. So, with all that said, securing the mineral rights of our nation for the prosperity of all people shouldn't be too much to debate about. One of the greatest things that anyone can do is admit when they are wrong and pause and correct. Well, most of us know that our system is wrong, and before we lose the chance to correct it, we need to pause and do so. It's time for we the people to step out of predictable behavior and break the program. We cannot be afraid, and we must keep our faith and move in peace. The only true way to have certainty for the few is to have certainty for all. And pushing fast forward into this space age existence will enable us to create self-sustaining subterranean cities with livable fallout zones, as well as habitable space stations, so that we can create a fire escape plan with the capacity for everyone, and not just those wealthy enough to afford it for themselves. We can fight each other and repeat the cycle, or we can pause and correct and rapidly advance humanity to the next level. Right now, we have an opportunity to do that and to build a foundation that countless generations can grow from. We need to decide if we want the history books to say that we corrected the injustices and we gave freedom not only to ourselves, but to everyone that comes after us. To say that we enabled a remarkable future and a thriving way of life for billions of souls. And could there ever be a greater accomplishment? On another note, recently Elon Musk challenged the UN to answer how $6 billion could end world hunger. I'm not sure what their answer is, but I have one of my own. I challenge all of the world's governments and billionaires to fund the Blue Cross movement's hemp revolution. With $6 billion, not only will we end world hunger, but we will also cure the environment and create a raw material and economic boom for the world. Not only feeding, but also clothing and housing all of those in need. So that challenge is to the wealthy, but here's one for everybody. I'm ready to do all of this as soon as you are. If at least 100 million Americans will back me up, I can begin this work the very next day. If 500 million people from anywhere will get behind me, then we will change this world forever. We will keep the count right here on this YouTube channel. If I have your support, please click the subscribe button, and that will keep track of our progress. Please watch the other short videos on this channel for a better idea about this movement, and review the description and playlist for more supporting content. Thank you very much for listening and your support. Please stay safe, stay peaceful, and stay free. Thank you very much.